What is going on, guys? We're back for another session today. Today we are playing the fun mix. The fun mix is, we're going to start with limit 08, Badusi, Badugi, stud 8, deuce 7 triple draw, ace 5 triple draw, deuces 7 Raz. The more I think about it, I think this is one of my favorite mixes. It's just fun. Alright, Josh opens here in the cutoff, and we 3-bet from the button with ace jack 3-7. And Omaha 8 or better, really like any ace face card and wheel card combination like an ace 3, ace 4, ace 5 is pretty strong, especially against, I would say, a wide open. So we're going to bet here. We got some backdoor diamonds. We got nut low right now. And for the most part here, if there's no action shown, like we're just going to bet down our ace 3, see if we got any fold equity. And sometimes we actually win with ace jack high. We make the backdoor flush, so I expect to scoop here a high percentage of the time. Josh has backdoor diamonds, higher ones, so he had an 8-2. He was not folding. We had some outs, but not too many. But that's kind of the key to the split pot games in general, is that we are trying to free roll. Omaha, high-low, the qualifier is 8 or better, just like most games with a qualifier. They're all 8 or better. So you need 3 cards on the board, 2 in your hand that are unpaired. So that 9, 9, 10, 6 against a raise and a call. I think I'm going to defend here. Kind of a flop where we have a little bit of everything and a little bit of nothing. When Josh leads here, I think this is kind of close, but I'm going to fold with a player behind me. I could easily just be up against a jack. And he's pushing a decent bit at, not really doing great against that one, especially with a player behind. My guess is Josh probably just had a jack. 10 high flush draw there isn't, it's okay, it's not great. Obviously I can catch a 4-2. I don't think I'm against like jacks full there that often, but I think it's kind of close. Badusi here with a, we'd be drawing 5. I'm just going to lay this one down. All the housekeeping stuff for the most part, please like, subscribe. If you would like to open a Phenom account, there's a link below. And if you use that, that definitely helps me out. It keeps me motivated to make the videos. Also, right now I'm I would say running like some sort of promotion, but not. What I'm doing is if you have a Phenom account and you would like to have up to an hour of coaching of one of your, like review of one of your sessions, I'm more than happy to review it, record the video, and then I post it to YouTube. Just kind of showing everyone how like my review sessions go and feedback that I can give to the community. So if you have or want to open a Phenom account and have an hour worth of video that you record, you can send it to me and I would give I would review it and put it up on YouTube. So if you want to do that, I have my email in the comment section below. And yeah, if you have it, just send it to me and I'm more than happy to post it and get some strategy going, some review for everyone. Here we were just Delta 9 Badugi and Badusi. We're just going to continue. We improve to an 8 big Badugi and a 9 low. If check 2, we bet the river. Very easy bet. And we win against the 3 card in a pair. If we were bet into, we'd probably just call. I don't think we usually scoop too much if we get bet into there. And we definitely still have, we definitely still get half the pot. I'd say a fair bit. So Badusi is 7-5-4-3-2 is the best deuce to 7 hand. So it's a split pot game in which there is technically no qualifier. There's always going to be 2 pots. The first pot is the best deuce to 7 hand, and the second pot is the best Badugi hand. Best Badugi in this game is 5-4-3-2. Aces are bad. Like I say, I always reiterate it here on the channel just because I think this channel is a little bit more for people who are learning the games as opposed to people who know them really well. So I'm just trying to introduce you as much as I possibly can. Here Josh pairs 7s, and 5s actually get low, and then Josh had a 9 Badugi. I don't think Josh bet the river. if Josh bets the river in that situation, he probably gets the fives to fold. I'm not sure if CC had 3-4-5. It's kind of a close call because you lose so much of your equity there when you pair fives. You basically have almost zero equity in the hand for the deuce to seven. So now you're kind of hoping that your 3 card is good. Here we have a Jack Badoogie, but this is just too weak. Out of position, I don't even think a Jack is really like openable from the button or even the small blind. Some Jacks might be. If you do, you got to take that line where if you see any aggression against you, you just basically muck your hand because you're getting either free rolled or have already lost all the pot. Players can definitely push back against you with like a 3 card, maybe like a really good 3 card and a 7 low, like a 1 card draw, but I think those are like relatively small portions of most people's ranges, and your reverse implied odds of like calling down with the Jack is just really bad. Two card 4-6 here on the button. I think I'm gonna fold it too. I do have 2 sevens in my hand, which help it. Obviously, like if this hand is a lot better than say 6-4 like king queen with no blockers, because it's just more likely like those other cards are in other people's hands. But when I have the 2 sevens, my hand goes up in value a little bit. Badoogie here, best hand is, so now we switch to Badoogie. Best hand is 4-3-2-1, all different suits. Pairs do count against you, and aces play is low. In almost all of these low games, or like these triple draw games, you always count from your highest card down. So if ace is low, the king is the highest card, and the best Badoogie is always by your high card and low. Most of these games, I think actually all these games, like it's always almost better to build, and we just get a limp and a call, so we can draw 3 at the ace. You want to build your hand from the bottom up if possible, because it gives you the smoothest hand. Like if you think about what constitutes, interesting, we make a queen Badoogie right away. We're going to go ahead and bet, and if we're just showing any aggression, we're just probably going to fold. Like this hand is pretty bad, but the fact that my opponents here have kind of like limped in and shown no aggression kind of mean they might have bad draws and they might just fold to any aggression. Yeah, they've just both fold there, so we get that one through. But like queen 10 is not great, especially against draws that are like any sort of draw that they have. Like they're not drawing worse. You know, in some situations in Badoogie, a lot of times like your opponent's drawing dead if you have a really strong hand. But if I have a queen, I don't expect my opponent to be drawing at a king or a worse queen or something like that. So if they make their hand and they show me any aggression, I'm just out. The parlay of, you know, me calling a raise and they break and I have the best hand, etc. Like it's just not great. Plus the pot's small. Like there was no raise pre-flop. We get the ace deuce through. We open the 2 card ace deuce on the button. Again, like I want the smooth. We have 3-4-7 and we just have 3-4. 3-4 here in the cutoff. I'm going to fold. I think this is a little bit close. Probably want something like, if I open with a 2 card in the cutoff, I probably want something like an ace deuce. So here CT takes 2 and Josh takes 1. Usually in the draw games, and I've mentioned this before, the person who has the draw lead, so Josh has the draw lead right now, he's taking 1 and CT's taking 2. That means his 3 card is actually winning at the moment. Usually in that situation, the people who have the draw lead continue bet. So if he's out of position, he leads, and if he's in position, it goes usually check call. Josh bluffs there with a 3 card 9. He's got really no showdown value, and CT actually makes a pretty good call here with a 3 card 7. And I think that makes a little bit of sense. Like Josh's range should be pretty wide. He didn't bet 3-bet pre-flop. 2 card wheel here with 3-4. We're going to defend in the big blind. Take 2. We have an extra 4 in our hand. No improvement. We do catch a 6. Probably check call one more time. It goes bet call. If it goes bet raise, we're gone. The button range here can be relatively wide too, so we can actually improve to like a 3-card 5, 3-card 6, and actually have some showdown value without making a Badoogie. Oh my goodness, we just went 2 to a wheel. That is tough to do. Now I'm going to check to the in-position player again, who I expect to bet, because when he led his 1-card draw range should be way ahead of everyone else at that point when he decided to lead again. So I expect him to lead again too. So here we just bet the wheel. There's no check raising. Our opponent isn't going to make a Badoogie often enough, I think, to like check this type of hand. And I'd much rather have, with a wheel, I'd much rather have it go bet raise. And then we get to 3-bet. Or even like 5-bet if he makes like something like a 5 or a really good 6. Stud 8 or better. So we are dealt our own individual hand here, a stud game. And here we have buried queens with the jack up. We're going to open this hand. It really kind of depends what the up cards are behind you, how we play this hand. Josh catches an ace here and checks. I mean, Josh's range is definitely like somewhat wide, but I'm going to check back here this hand. Now if he bets, I'm actually going to raise. Now I'm open-ended. His range is relatively wide. I just caught a king. I mean, if he's got an ace, he's got an ace too. And catches open deuces. I'm going to check against his open deuces. Now we make Broadway, so we are going to bet the river with Broadway. And he looks like he might have had buried 10s. It's really important to be able to read your opponent's board in this game. It takes time to kind of figure out what they have. Josh limps here with the king, so my guess is he's got like maybe 2 low cards in the hole, something like that. He could have 3 spades. He could have like at least 1 spade, but I don't expect him to have 2 spades when he limps in, so we're gonna call. He catches open deuces. I'm still gonna call because his range is like so wide, and I have 2 kings in my hand. And now he bets again, which I don't really love, but I am gonna pay off with the kings just in case he's yeah, he does have 3 deuces. Yeah, his range here, his limping range here is like just super wide. So I'm going to pay it off pretty light, especially if I have like kings. There's a lot of like other pairs that I can just fold because kings right there is like, you know, I would say definitely one of the top, it's like top-ish portion of my range. His board gets relatively bad, and it kind of makes sense that he has a fair bit of deuces in there when he limps in. But I think folding kings would be a mistake. I think Josh also, if he misses his draws, he just has to bet off the deuces too. So I think calling with kings is, I think, totally fine, especially since I block a king in my hand too. But I also think Josh would raise with a king coming in though, so I don't put him on split kings. Just like all the 8 or better hands with a qualifier in this game, you need 5 cards unpaired to make a low. There is always a stud high hand. So the highest stud high hand will win either all the pot or half the pot. And the best low will win half if it qualifies. In qualifiers, when you're playing with a game with a qualifier, it's definitely different than like a game with no qualifier. Because in a game with no qualifier, you definitely want to start as smooth as you possibly can. In a game with a qualifier, high hands have more value because they can win the whole pot. And a lot of the high games, if you take high-low stud regular, we call it any 2, the high hands are virtually unplayable unless it's like a multi-way pot, because the low hand is almost just completely free-rolling from the start. It's totally different in a qualifying game because they have to actually qualify to make their hand. And we play deuce to 7 here. Josh slips button. We have deuce, deuce, 3, 5. Very strong. 2-card draw. We're going to open. Plus we block a deuce, which is great. It's also of notice that we have a 10. It's not a super important blocker, but it's also relative. We improved a 1-card draw with 8, 5, 3, 2, so we're going to bet. Josh calls. I'm going to discard. He takes 2. We're still going to bet here. And if Josh raises, we're going to 3-bet. We make number 5. This is a very strong hand, especially against a limp. I expect Josh to be drawing dead here like a fair bet. Because he also didn't know that I was going to be pat, so he could be still drawing like relatively rough. Here we have the 2-card You can say a 3-card 9 draw, or sorry, 2-card 9 draw, 3-card 8 draw, but either way, it's just not smooth enough. So we're just gonna let that one go. Uh, 6-4 here in the big blind. Most likely we're going to defend and play in position with 6-4 and take 1 draw off against Josh in position. And we include a 4-5-6. Oh, he's Pat. Yeah, his range here probably should be pretty rough. I think this is like totally fine a 3-handed game, but my draw is just so rough, and it's an open-ended straight draw, so we're just going to let it go. I pretty much would need to catch perfect to kind of catch up with him. Would definitely folding the 4-6-8 versus Josh here on the button, but if given the open, I would open versus CT with the 3-card 8. Definitely have to play a little bit rougher when you're more short-handed or you're in the small blind. All right, guys, we're back. Sorry about that. I had some children interference, but it's all good. So we're back at Badugi, and we'll try to keep playing through here a little bit. Stud 8 or better, and then I think we're at deuce, so. One pat. That goes check raise on the river, interesting. CT check raises a 6. Yeah, you definitely should check raise the river with some hands. Don't know if 6 is the best one you want to do it with or not. Just because in some minds I keep thinking to myself, like, if you make a 6, you want to go bet 3-bet. Like 6-4 is a really strong hand. You know, obviously any wheel, any 5. If your opponent's going to raise you, I guess 6-4 is okay to consider doing it, because you can easily call a 3-bet with 6-4. And here Bond bets a 9 and gets called by a king. Probably was going to get looked up anyways by a 3-card 4. So that's good. And both 3-card 8 here in the small blind. We 3-bet the button, 3-handed game. And we're going to definitely open from the small blind, draw 1. And we make a king. I'm going to bet this one and then probably pat it. A lot of times you want to break your best 3 cards, because the equity that you have by like keeping a king or queen versus drawing with the best 3 card when you still win at showdown is pretty significant. I'm going to go ahead and bet this one on the river, just because I might get called by worse. I was going to say worse 3 card, or a 3 card, but he does make a jack. Even if I checked it, I'm not sure if he would have bet his hand or not. Probably actually relatively close with jack 7. I guess if I check the river though, like, I have a lot of kings and a lot of queens in my range, so it'd be kind of close. Open the 8-4-7 here again, stud 8 or better. We're back playing this one again. Try to make it through the whole gamut of games if we can. 9-8-4 here. We're gonna do a little bit of limping. Check the 9-6. Because in stud 8 or better, this is the one game where your opponent is most likely to actually have a defendable hand, as in versus like stud I or versus wow, he's got 5, 2, 3, 4, and he hasn't bet into me yet. I got 2 4s, but I'm just gonna give this one up now. But in stud 8 or better, it's the one game where your opponent, who is the bring-in, is most likely to have a defendable hand and play back against you. So opening like pretty much 9 is like the worst card in this game, and opening a 9 into a bring-in with a low card I don't think is necessarily great. Plus you kind of force your opponent to like make a hand. 4, 6, 10 here, I'm going to kind of do the same thing. Occasionally take this line. I'm going to check the 6-8 against the 6-5. And the 6, 8, 7, 4, 10. Now I got a double gutter and a 4-card low. I'm going to go ahead and bet. If my opponent just overfolds a small blind like way too much, I'll just go ahead and open. If I think they're going to defend somewhat correctly here, I think limping a little bit is a little bit better. But you just got to remember that like you're fighting over a lot of dead money too. What are we playing? We're playing 2-4 with a 50 structure, so 1-8 structure. What's the 6-12 structure on here? So it really depends what the ante is for the most part. So like if you're, let's see, on here we're playing 2-4 with a 50-cent ante, so this is a 1/8. So against the big bet, so it's a 1/8 structure. And then like if we're playing the fixed limit Raz game on here, it's almost a 1, it's like a 1.65 or something like that, or it's a 6.3 to 1. So the ante in like the 10-20 game's a little bit bigger, so you definitely should be fighting more in that game versus a game with a smaller ante structure. I've mentioned this before, like very similar to a structure in like No Limit or PLO when the some levels or some ante games, you know, sometimes you might see an ante that's like one big blind. In a lot of, I guess, No Limit tournaments now that's kind of like the standard. But in interesting here, like split aces versus open sevens. I'm gonna go ahead and call with the open aces. Now I have 3 low cards. If he bets into me again, it's pretty scary, to be honest. Like, he's usually representing trips. But my board is so good right now with an ace-2-6, I'm going to go ahead and bet. Now it's ace-4-6, so it's just kind of the same thing here. I'm going to go ahead and bet again. And if I get check raised, pretty much only drawing for half. Like, he's either got a flush or a full house of some kind. If I do make aces up in the river, I will bet for value. I make 3 aces, so I definitely have to bet for value. And I have 3 hearts. But he has queens up and we win. But my board is just too good not to bet, even though I really don't have anything there. All right, deuce to 7, 7, 5, 4, 3, 2 is the best hand, so we're trying to make the worst poker hand possible. The 5 cards 7 high. Straights count against you, flushes count against you, ace high only plays high in this game. The only thing is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is not a wheel in this game. It is not a 5 high straight either. It is a ace. It is an ace low with ace 5, 4, 3, 2 low. So a little bit unintuitive. So even the what's the structure here? Structure here in the 1530 game is $4 ante, and in the 1020 game it's the $3 ante. So slight difference. Just have to pay attention sometimes to like what size the ante is, because if it's a big ante, obviously you just got to be playing like so many hands. Deuce to 7 triple draw here against one player will definitely defend the 2-3, even out of position. He takes 3-2. We make a 1 card draw and we block an extra deuce, unfortunately. I'm going to bet this one here. Make the 9 in a 1-2 spot. We're going to bet and then pat this hand. And it looks like he has a decision that he's going to have to take 2 again. Obviously, it's pretty beneficial for me because I've got an extra deuce and some extra blockers now. He does call. We're going to pat. And then we're definitely going to bet the river just in case he gets a little bit sticky. But yeah, it just kind of seemed like he was going to have a 2-card draw there. Wow, and he undercut us there, and 2-card draw made the 87. So unfortunately we lose. Obviously trip tracks here, no good. Wrong game. Not Archie. Not single draw. Not drama high. For what it's worth, I actually think his call is probably close to correct. Depends on like the blockers that he's seen, I would say too. Like usually I think you're getting the right price in that situation if you don't know if your opponent's pat or not to draw 2 again. But if you have seen like king, king, queen, king, king, queen, something like that, it's much more likely that your opponent has a, let's say a smoother hand. So if you haven't seen any blockers at that point, then you could maybe make a case to fold. So here we have, obviously this is still 2 to 7 triple draw. We don't have a 4-card 7 draw here. We like never, we never really keep the this draw, this 4, 5, 6, 7. We usually break the 6 and draw to the 5, 4, 7. We still call. Now, ironically, if I had caught the 6 again and he was pat, I actually probably do draw at the deuce in that spot. Now it's really interesting that we catch the jack 7. I actually think what I'm going to do with this hand is I'm going to raise. Now, if I had a smooth 7 draw here, I wouldn't play this route. I think what I would do is just probably draw at the smooth 7. But I have a straight draw in my hand, and now he takes 1, and I make a jack, and I'm just going to check this one back on the river. I do. He's got a 4-card 9, which is probably fine in a 3-handed game. At least he doesn't have the straight draw, so that's fine. 8-7 here out of position. I think we're going to fold this one. Something like maybe 8-5 I would defend. And then CT leaves, so play a couple of the draw games, I think. 2-4-8 here on the button. We'd throw away the 10. Ace to 5. So here you can do, actually you could probably do a lot, make a case for a lot of different things. Draw 1 at the 4-card 8, draw 1 at the even like path the 9, which I don't think is right, but I'm going to draw the 2 at the 2 at the 7, and I do make the 7 right away. I'm going to go ahead and check raise. This is like somewhat of my standard, I would say, like in a 2-2 spot. Like I think I usually go ahead and, like, with my pat hands, and just go ahead and like check raise a lot. It also, if I know my opponent has a chance of like betting a lot in position, if he improves or doesn't improve, then I definitely want to get that extra bet in. Ace deuce 3 here on the button. Again, we talk about building from the bottom up. This is the best 2-card draw that you can have in this game. Block an ace and catch an 8. I think I'm going to go ahead and bet it and draw to the 8 because we're heads up. In a full ring game, I would break the 8. And now we still have that lead, so we're going to break. The only problem usually in ace to 5 is you don't want to be drawing rougher than your opponent. And then when we catch the jack here in position and he checks, we're just going to check back. He does pair 4s. I think that's a good check by him. He's most likely just going to check give up with 4s. Nine, 9, 7, 8 here. I'm going to call and draw 3 at the 7, 4. I'm going to full muck the 8. So we have 9, 9, 8's dead. We improve to a 1-card 7 draw. It's somewhat important that we know that like the 9, 9, 8's dead. I would say it's a little bit more important if we knew that if a couple 8s were dead. We do get raised. I don't know how tilted Bond is right now, so we're just going to call and stand pat with the 7, 6. He did raise me and he broke, and we're just going to check the 7, 6. And he paired 5s. So we're kind of getting really lucky right here and just winning every hand against Bond. Ace 4, 6 here on the button, another good starting hand. Get 3-bet, we call. 2, 2. Prove to a 1-card 6 draw, obviously strong. We have 10, 10, 9 dead. Not really of significance, I would say, in this spot. Interesting, he goes from 0 to pat, so he can be pretty wide. Do catch an ace. Not going to raise, I don't think. Like, my blockers are that good, and we'll see what happens. Catch the 7, just going to call the river. When he checks me, I'm going to bet the 7 for value. Wow, he had 9, 8. It's pretty rough. It's pretty rough, and he's got a good draw, too. I mean, that's kind of like the same induced of basically saying, like, I have, 2, 3, 7, and I catch 10, 9. I'm just going to go ahead and pat that hand. I think it's just better to just check, call, and draw 2 again. Okay, we got 5, 6 here and ace to 5. We got 4, 5, 6 now. We're going to go ahead and check call again. Jack, queen in a 2-1 spot. Kind of similar here to ace to 5. If my opponent's, deuce to 7. My opponent's drawing 1 here. I don't know. I'm just going to go ahead and check call and draw 2 again. Make a jack on the river. And we're going to go ahead and most likely check call. Yeah, he should be betting white here in this spot too. He probably should be betting like up to jacks, honestly. But he makes the wheel. He finally got me. I was running so good in that situation that never knew. 1-card wheel draw here, I think, is a fold. I see really good players open 1 on the button here, but they usually have an ace or deuce. 9, 8, 6. We're playing deuce to 7 raz. Best hand is 7, 5, 4, 3, 2. And we 2-bet the 9-8-6 just because I think my opponent's going to be pretty wide in this spot. And this is like pretty, I would say pretty standard in a Raz game. If your hand is relatively mediocre to good in a spot where it's like just heads up, there's a lot of 3-betting going on. Again, 7-5-4-3-2. Obviously on 3rd Street, if you have something like deuce 3-7 or something like like a deuce or a 7 with a card in between. Obviously with queen jack here, we're just going to fold. We should be giving up here a decent bit if we have like 2 bricks in the hole. If I had like deuce deuce, I might raise. With another brick in the hole, we're going to fold here with the king queen 4. Sometimes, you know, it gets a little boring in Raz when your head's up. The draw games, it's like you can always find something to play. Kind of same thing here. If Bond opens the 3, I think I'm going to go ahead and 2-bet the 5-9-6. Even though I do have a straight draw here, I still think it's good enough to go ahead and 2-bet. And we catch a deuce, and he catches an ace. My guess is going to be a check fold here. Obviously the deuce is really good for my range. Like I shouldn't just be 3-betting like a 2-3-5 or 2-7-5 here. I should be 3-betting hands that I just showed. He opens the 6 here. I'm going to open the jack 6 forward. Just because. Obviously when I pair the 6 it's not good. Actually this card is really like, it's supposedly really good for me because like 9-4-6 here against 9-6-7. He catches a deuce, and obviously I have open jacks. Like he definitely could have paired some of these cards, but the 6 is actually quite good for me because he has a 6, and it's less likely that I paired my 6. But his board just runs out so good that I'm not going to bet. Like a 9's a pretty good card for his range when he 2-bets me. Like he should have 9s in his range, but I think sometimes like your opponent can be a little bit tricky and decide to check back in a like pretty close spot, I would say, like where I open and he 2-bets. Like he's definitely a range favorite there, I would say. But we've had a playable hand every one here. Ace deuce 3-4 is a hand heads up that I think is a little bit sneaky, and I like to go ahead and like usually check call this one. On this board, I still think we call. We have backdoors. We can make like pairs too. Obviously we make nut low here, so I'm going to actually go ahead and go for the check raise here on this river when it gets there. It doesn't work. He actually had a queen in 8-3. So sometimes I like to go for thin value check raises. But that one did not work. But I definitely think peeling once on that flop is totally fine. If I was double suited with the ace deuce 3-4 there, I think 3-betting is also good. I think that's probably usually like the double suited, I think, is the cutoff for me. Ace queen 4-7 heads up here is a very nice hand. Against the 3-bet, most likely we're going to 4-bet this hand. Just really, really strong. Don't get the best flopping leads into us. I don't know how often my opponent should be leading, but whatever. And then on the turn here, we have no flush draw, and we have ace queen high. So again, it's kind of like one of these parlays where I have like a lot of aces in my range. I probably have like overpairs, kings, flush draws. I'm just going to give up the ace queen. And we're back at Badusi. Let's see what we got. We got Badusi and Badugi. Maybe we'll play Badusi and Badugi shorthanded, and then we will call it session for the day. 2-4 on the button with a 7. This is debatable what you can do in a heads-up scenario, whether you keep the 7 or not. I guess in position would just depend on what my opponent does. If he 3-bets me, I'm probably drawing 3. If he calls, I might just draw 2. And we have a 1-card 7 here. We're going to fold. Let's see, we got 4-8 here on the button heads up. I'm going to ditch the 5. He does 2-bet me, so the 5 I think is an easier fold. Just for notice that like we have the queen and the 8 here, so we're going to throw away the diamonds. So now we actually have if in an emergency situation, we have an extra queen of diamond draw. 2-4-8 here on the button now. He stands pat. That's not good. I'm going to go for the hero, draw 3, and try to make a Badugi, and I don't. And now we just got to give up our hand. The one thing I really don't want to catch there is keep the 4 and then catch like a mediocre 3 card with like an 8 draw against the pat hand. I'd much rather just try to make a Badugi and have more equity continuing. 6-7 here. We're gonna call and draw 2 at, or sorry, draw 3 at the 6-7, and we make a 9 Badugi. And this is a scenario where my opponent should be relatively wide. I was gonna say in like in a non-heads up situation, I actually think check calling and drawing 1 might be slightly better here. But since my opponent should be pretty wide there on the button, I think actually check raising the 9 is slightly better. He does make an 8. And we chop. But I think actually kind of like quote unquote slow playing my 9 in that situation where my opponent has a tighter range is probably slightly better. But in a heads up spot, I don't think we do. Alright, we're going to play Badugi and then we'll call it. Alright, 4, 5, 10 here. We're going to call and draw 2 at the 4-5. Opponent draws 1. We're going to check. I don't keep usually face cards in any of my draws unless I have a Badugi. So we're going to check, call, and draw 2 again. We make the ace 4-5. I don't really see the point in check raising here, so we're just going to go ahead and call, even with the ace 4-5. And now we make ace deuce 4. And I think I'm going to go ahead and lead this one. And it's kind of close between whether I should check call and let my opponent bluff or bet the ace deuce 4 for value. Ace 7 here on the button. I'm gonna say it. Leaving after Badugi. 2 card 5 here. We're gonna defend. Make a Badugi. I'm just gonna go ahead and go for the bet raise. Or I'm sorry, just go for the bet pat, and he folds. Got 3 hands left. 3-9 here on the button is, I'm not sure if this one's an open, if this is too wide, but I'm gonna go ahead and open the 3-9 and then draw 2 at it. And he stands pat, which is a little bit scary. So it's good to know like his median Badugi here's like queen 7, but I got 2 queens in my hand. So it's probably just slightly stronger. I improved to 3, 6, 7, so we're going to call. And we're going to discard. We catch a king. I still think I'm going to call and break, so I'm getting roughly 5-1. This is a close one. And sometimes here I'm just going to break the best hand, but I think like keeping the king's a mistake. I'd probably keep a queen, honestly. And he does bet the river, so we're just going to have to give this one up. If I caught the king on the river here, I would probably pay him off. But I have a lot better 3 cards in my range, and obviously I have all Badugis, so I'm just going to give that one up. 3-10 here, we're going to fold. And then this is the last hand. And we make a 10 Badugi, and we're probably not breaking this under any circumstances. It's just too strong. It's almost in the bottom quartile. I'd probably say it's in the bottom. It's in the top 40% of all Badugis right now. And my opponent, most likely in a heads-up scenario, would check raise me with worse Badugis. But yeah, I would never. I'm not breaking a 10. And if he's got me, he's got me. Yeah, he's got a 9. He actually plays that one good too. All right, well, that is that's the session. So I appreciate everyone watching. Again, if you would like, subscribe, please do that. If you, let's see, we'll GG here. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. If you want to email me, go ahead and do that. I have my email down there. If you guys would like to sign up for a Phenom account, again, there's a link below in the description or in the comment section that helps me out and keeps me motivated to keep making these videos. Also, right now, anyone who has a Phenom account and wants feedback on their mix game, they can record a video up to an hour. They can send it to me, and I will do some commentary with their play, and then I'll post it to YouTube as well, just to give them feedback. As yeah, if you guys are looking to do something like that. But until then, hit me up if you guys are interested in any of that. I also have an X account now. It's just the same handle @LearnMixGames on X. So I'll be tweeting out anything that I see Probably sending my videos out too at the same time. But until then, good luck at the tables. Play well. See you guys later. Bye bye.